today's session is going to be focused on how to be more mindful, how can one incorporate the right eating habits as well, and what kind of habits can one let go of in the coming days that are ahead of us. So let me just start sharing my screen just so that everybody has the PowerPoint visible. I hope everybody can see my screen as well, and the PowerPoint will have a lot of visual aid to help you understand the presentation today, to help you understand the concept as well that I would like to put across. So as I said, today's session is going to be as follows. We're going to first start off by discussing what are the common eating habits and what are the common habits that one should probably make amendments to or make changes to, because we all know that we are guilty of maybe over consuming foods when we are stressed out. We are guilty of probably sleeping less because we have less time at hand, or if we are stressed out, if we are emotionally eating as well. Many a times, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling down, we don't have much energy levels. Post lunch or post dinner, we have a habit of snacking or having some meetha as well. So what are the good eating and good habits that one can incorporate in their daily lives, and how can one improve upon and pick the right ingredients to use and go with their food? All right, I'll also be discussing that how can one be more mindful in this festive season that is ahead of us. So the first slide that I have prepared for you all is the one that you can see right now. Is most of us are guilty of not getting enough sleep, right? Today, in the time of the pandemic as well, many of us had not enough physical activity, because of which we were not getting proper sleep as well. We were stressed out about work, we were stressed out about some relationship problems at home, or some family issues, or maybe financial issues, or whatever the stressor could be. Many of us, if we are overthinking, and many of us, if we are not getting enough sleep, at least good quality 7 to 8 hours of sleep, what tends to happen? We get irritable, we get moody, and the next day when you wake up, we feel like having something sugary, some carb-rich item, and we start craving something that is going to make us feel alert and awake. And then what do we end up doing? We load up on coffee, we load up on tea, because we need to feel awake. And that's a stimulant, right? And excessive coffee and tea, we all know, is going to have some harmful side effects in the long run as well, right? It's going to constantly fire up your neurons in your brain, and you're making your body used to something external, right? So less sleep is something that most of us are guilty of, right? If we have had maybe like a very, very intense working day, and we are super stressed out, and we're not able to fall asleep because of whatever reason, right? We are definitely guilty of this. So how can we kind of keep a check on our sleeping habits? How can we incorporate the right kind of sleeping routine every day? So the first thing that I would like to address is that many of us, before going to bed, we don't maintain a good sleep hygiene, right? The reason that many of us are not able to fall asleep at night is not only because we are stressed, or because we have not had enough physical activity, or if we're not tired enough. Many a times we are tired, our bodily we are extremely fatigued, but mentally we are overthinking, right? So what can we do? At least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, your dinner should be complete. So try and finish off your meals at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, because that will ensure that you have enough energy to work on the digestive tract. Today, if you have eaten your meal, suppose for instance you've eaten your meal at dinner and you go to bed right after, all the energy that is supposed to be focused on digestion will now be focused on rejuvenating and your unconscious mind, right? Because when you're sleeping also, your body is unconsciously, subconsciously working, right? Hormones are being manufactured as well. So it's very important that we finish our meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, to prevent indigestion, to prevent acidity, to prevent gas, and so on and so forth, for smooth gut health. Second thing that we can keep a check on is that stop caffeine, which is your coffee and tea, at least 5 to 6 hours before bedtime. This is also a very good habit. I've noticed that many people who have that 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. tea, and many of them are overloading on the coffee, or they're overloading on the tea as well. What is happening? Because of the caffeine content in it, you become so alert and so awake that you're not able to fall asleep at night. So at least 5 to 6 hours before bedtime, one must try and cut down on the caffeine intake. Next thing, the caffeine is also present, apart from coffee and tea, in irritative things, right? So this also must be limited. Next, you must turn off your electronics, because we all know that the blue light screens, from our laptops, from our computers, from our phones is constantly going to affect melatonin or sleep hormone in our body, right? Today we have a hormone called sleep hormone in our body, which is activated if only we are getting enough sunlight. So always remember that when you wake up in the morning also, you must wake up in the morning and look at sun rays, because the minute sun's rays hit your eyes, your melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, is activated, which is released at night. All right. So it is maintain a fixed schedule of your sleeping and waking up as well. That's why it is so crucial to have a fixed routine when you wake up in the morning, you go to bed at night. All right. So turn off your gadgets, because the blue light from the screen is going to affect your sleep at night. All right. It's going to affect your sleep hormone. So all your gadgets like your cell phone should be kept away at least half an hour to 1 hour before bedtime. Instead, you can speak to a family member. You can probably interact with your children at home or your parents at home, or you could even read a book, right? That's a better way of unwinding and rejuvenating. All right. So try and follow these simple techniques. And for somebody who has trouble falling asleep, I'll give you a very simple remedy. Half a cup of warm water or warm milk before bedtime with turmeric or haldi with little bit of ashwagandha herb, which is the Ayurvedic herb, is a great remedy for a good night's sleep and to reduce stress levels. Even if you keep a little bit of chamomile, which is a herbal tea, next to your bedside before bedtime, if you have that lukewarm, it's a great way to fall asleep at night. All right, you'll get better sleep, you'll have less levels. So try and follow these simple techniques for good sleep. Next thing that we are guilty of is no movement. We all are working, we have desk jobs, we're sitting in one place the entire day. And the common reason that many of my clients give me is, I have no time to exercise, I have no time to work out. Right, this is a very commonly seen reason with most of the people that I counsel as well. And I only tell them one thing, that if you can incorporate every day, if you are keeping a routine every day, and you must take a shower every day, and you must take a bath every day, you must brush every day. Similarly, even exercise is a must every day, right? It should be a part of your routine. And you need not necessarily go to a gym or a wellness center, go on a diet as well. All you need to do is just incorporate 30 minutes of physical routine every day. What does that mean? Even if it is a brisk walk, even if it is getting up for every 1 hour of sitting, suppose if you're sitting at a desk and working continuously, for every 1 hour of sitting, get up for 5 minutes, stretch, roll your wrist, flex your muscles, and on the spot, wherever you are standing, you can do some spot jogging as well. All right, just as a lady in this slide is doing spot jogging, you need not need any trainer or music for that matter. All you can do is simple spot jogging to get your blood circulation going. You carry a simple skipping rope at home. You can do skipping as well, right, to get your cardio in. You can also do simple walking or brisk walking when you're talking on the phone. Today, many a times, if we get a call, right, we're sitting and talking on the phone. Now, most of us have mobile phones, right? So what we can do is we can talk on the phone and keep walking. Do a brisk walk. By walking, I don't mean you walk at the speed of a turtle or a tortoise. You do a brisk walk where you're walking for a good amount of time and you're talking on the phone as well. You're multitasking. This way, you're also incorporating some kind of physical routine, right? This is a great way for anybody. Even if you have a standing job, as well, I would recommend all of y'all to do some kind of physical, exercise every day. And for those of you who have access at home as well, you can put on a YouTube class, right? There are so many videos available on YouTube. You can download an app. There's your Cult Fit app. There's your Fiternity app, there's your MyFitnessPal, your Nike app. All these apps on your phone also can be downloaded. You can keep a check on your number of steps every day, right? You can gift yourself good health. This Diwali, this New Year, why don't you invest in health, right? Why don't you buy yourself a simple pedometer or a simple tracking device to help you see how many steps you're taking every day, right? So all these will help you boost your mood and reduce your stress levels. Now, many of us, we are guilty also of consuming food and multitasking. We don't want to devote time to consuming food. Instead, if I'm sitting on my laptop, on my screen, or I'm trying to work, or I'm trying to juggle my house duties, or take care of my children, or take care of my family members, what am I doing? I'm constantly multitasking. So I'm either on my phone, or I'm on my laptop, or on my desktop. I'm eating at the same time, and I'm trying to work because I'm trying to multitask, right? In my head, I feel that I'm multitasking, I'm saving time, right? And you're eating mindlessly. What tends to happen if you don't focus on food? You tend to eat and overeat because you will not know when to stop. And that's why it is very important to engage and eat with all your five senses. Very, very important to understand that the minute I see the food, the minute I smell the food, the aroma of the food, my salivary glands are activated. My saliva starts getting secreted, right? My enzymes start getting secreted, like amylase, which will help in digestion. So always remember, if you see your food, if you smell your food, try and engage all your five senses, right? Focus on each bite and tune into your body's signals to know when you are full. Remember, it takes 20 minutes for the signal of fullness to reach your brain, which means that if you're going to eat in a hurry, for all of y'all who are eating in a hurry, you are not getting the signal of fullness to reach your brain. So take 20 minutes to eat your food in peace, without distraction, with full mindfulness. Touch your food, smell your food, taste your food, savor your food. Food and eating is an enjoyable experience, right? Engage all your senses. If you're going to eat in a hurry, what will happen? You will not chew your food. Many of us, we take big bites of food and we gulp our food down in a hurry. And that will lead to what? It will lead to all the unbroken food, undigested food reaching our stomach, intestines, and that will cause bloating, belching, acidity, gas, that weird sensation in your mouth and your throat as well, in your esophagus, that burning sensation. How many of us are guilty of having this acidity problem? So many of us, right, are suffering from it. Why? Because we're not taking time to chew our food. I'm not going to ask you to chew your food some 30 times. All I want you to do is chew and bite your food slowly, right? Make it into a dissolvable matter. Don't try and have big bites of food and just gulp your food with air. That will lead to you burping and belching as well. All right. So very, very important to chew and bite your food properly. And another solution to mindful eating is, many of us, if we are multitasking, we don't pay attention to when we are actually hungry. So what is the key to paying attention to when you're actually hungry? Rank your hunger. Today, if I know that every day at 1 p.m. I'm having my lunch, right? So you must keep a fixed schedule for every day. More or less half an hour here and there, it's fine. But your body starts preparing, your body preempts or starts in preparation to digest that food. So if you don't give that food at that particular hour, all your digestive juices and your enzymes have already been released in preparation for the food to be eaten, right? And that will just lie in your stomach without getting utilized. So when you are, sitting idle, rate your hunger on a scale of 1 to 5. If your hunger is on a level of maybe 2, you can start eating. Don't wait until you are super hungry. All right? Don't wait until you are extremely hungry. And what will happen if you wait until you are extremely hungry? You will eat whatever comes your way. You will not be able to be in tune with your body's signal. Also, stop when you are feeling 80% full. Don't wait and eat up until you are uncomfortably stuffed with food. Why am I saying that? You start eating at 2 and stop eating at 4. Why? Because that is your comfortable state. If you're going to stop when you're comfortable, you will not overeat. Many of us, we start overeating and we do not realize because we feel that we're not full yet. So whenever you feel 80% full, leave that 20% gap in your stomach and stop at that 80% fullness, because that is giving your body enough time to understand the signal of fullness. As I said, 20 minutes it takes for the body to recognize that you are full. So wait it out, take time and dedicate that 20 minutes to eat. So many of us are constantly eating if we are stressed out, if we are bored, we have nothing better to do, nothing to look forward to, let's eat food. If I'm stressed, if I'm low, if I'm crying, I want to eat, right? Many a time we are stressed out as well. Many a times if I'm stressed out as well, what do I end up doing? I overeat, right? I'll have a tub of ice cream, or I'll have a lot of mithai, or I'll have a lot of sweet foods to cut the bitterness in my life. I feel that I'm using food as a coping mechanism to deal with my emotions. But does that make the stress go away? Does eating food make my stress disappear? No, right? So whenever you are bored as well, many a times if we are bored, we have nothing to look forward to. In this whole pandemic period, there was so much over snacking. People were sitting at home, they were not able to go out much, right? And for those of you all who are having desk jobs and sitting mostly in front of the screens, or you are preparing food or whatever that is, right? If you're bored, you can keep some healthier snacks next to your desk or wherever you are working, right? What you can do is take some low calorie snacks which you can have in excess or in bolus amounts. Remember, low calorie snacks will soothe your cravings as well, right? So if you are bored, if you have nothing better to do, many of us after lunch, after dinner, we have this craving for eating something, right? You can take a bowl of makhana. It is low calorie and you can keep munching on that and not worry about the calories after. You can take some kurmura, puffed rice. You can take a bowl of sprouts also. All these are low calorie snacks which can be had without any guilt, right? Even if I'm stressed out, many a times the stress hormone in my body called cortisol is plummeting. It is going up and it's rising, right? And that is making my appetite increase as well. So many a times when I'm stressed out, if I have an important meeting to attend, if I'm not happy with my job or whatever that is, right? Or I have some problem going on at home, I will eat a lot because I want to suppress that stress. I want to reduce that stress. And what do I usually end up eating? All the items that are probably not the best for me, unhealthy foods. I'll load up on coffee, tea, aerated colas, and drinks and alcohol and so on and so forth. Instead, what can one do? Instead of having these foods, one can focus on foods to reduce stress. Did you know that food has a capacity to improve your mood and reduce stress levels? So what can one do? One can take foods that are rich in magnesium. Magnesium is a calming mineral. It calms your muscles down. It will ease any body fatigue or restlessness. So for all of y'all who are having body pain, muscle pain, you all are very fatigued, very tired, I would suggest take a handful of almonds and cashews or pumpkin seeds and have them as a snack because they are magnesium rich. Even spinach, your avocados, all these are magnesium rich and they can very well be eaten. Now nitrates, right? What are nitrates? They are a group of nutrients that help in blood circulation, that increase blood flow. So today, if I have 4 people trying to get through one small, tiny, narrow door, those 4 people will take time to get through it together. But if I open up the door, those 4 people can easily cross through that door, right? Why? Because I've opened up that door. Similarly, nitrates will open up your blood vessels. They will dilate your blood vessels. Whenever you are stressed, your blood pressure increases, right? So if you eat nitrate-rich foods, your blood vessels will open up, they will dilate, and smooth blood flow will happen to your organs and more oxygen will reach your organs, because of which you will be much more calmer. Your blood pressure will decrease. So what is a simple remedy to reduce stress and reduce high blood pressure? Eat foods that are nitrate rich. Have your pomegranate anar, have your beetroot, boiled beetroot, have leafy green vegetables. All these like spinach, methi, colocasia are known to reduce your blood pressure and calm down your blood vessels as well. All right. Third important nutrient is omega-3 fatty acids. How many of us have heard of this omega-3 fatty acid? It's a healthy fat. It's a healthy fat, right? What it does to our body? This healthy fat will reduce inflammation in our body. Many of us, if we are stressed out or if we are going through a stressful time in our lives, the inflammation in our body increases, the oxidation increases. Thus, we need to eat anti-inflammatory foods like omega-3 fatty acids, which are the healthy fats. They will boost your brain health, they'll make you more alert, and you will feel much more calmer as well. So eat your walnuts, eat your flax seeds, eat your chia seeds, even your nut oils, even your fatty fish. For those of you who consume fish, those all can be taken for omega-3. Now, some other techniques to help battle stress levels and to fight boredom are as follows. If you are bored, instead of eating, what you can do is take a walk, speak to a friend, surf the internet, right? Listen to some good music, get support from your family members. If you are feeling lonely or depressed, don't consume foods in a hurry or in anger, right? Instead, get support. You have a good network of people around you. Make use of even that one person who you can bank upon. Tame your stress levels, and by taming your stress levels, you can keep a check on your impulses as well. Many of us are eating out of impulse. We're eating in a hurry. Try a simple stress management technique like deep breathing. Even if you are sitting on your desk, on your chair, simple Alom Vilom can be done. Deep breathing for 5 minutes only. Take a deep breath in, hold for 5 seconds, and then release out, right? Even those simple things like stress management techniques like yoga, meditation, deep breathing, sitting at your desk, all these activities can be done without any having to worry about going for a class for that matter. Next thing is the unhealthy snacking time. Many of us, if we are in between lunch and dinner, that 4 to 6 period, time period, we tend to eat all the foods that are probably not the best for us. Fried items, fried snacks, and this leads to weight gain. This leads to a lot of lifestyle disorders like diabetes, hypertension. Many of us, we keep loading up on coffee, tea. We have 3, 4, 5 cups of tea. So what can we do to reduce this unhealthy pattern? Because too much of caffeine is also acidic. It will lead to acidity, ulcers, and so on and so forth, right? Too much of caffeine will make our body very dependent or addicted to it. So what we can do is to prevent acidity, to prevent our stomach to get worsened, or to maintain our stomach health and our intestine health, we can cut down on caffeinated beverages. So reduce them gradually. Replace if you're somebody who's dependent on more than 2 cups of coffee or tea, reduce it to 1 cup of coffee and tea, and then you can replace it with a herbal tea like a chamomile tea or a jasmine tea or a green tea for that matter, which is less caffeinated, right? You can replace the sugar also in your tea with a little bit of jaggery or stevia, which is a plant-based sugar, which is a healthier alternative. You can drink water, keep hydrating yourself, because that's a great option instead of consuming too much of dehydrating fluids. And the best way to snack is to include a protein and a fiber-rich food. Always remember that the goal to prevent healthy snacking, what we can do is we can take a fiber-rich item, which is like a vegetable or a fruit, mostly in the 4 to 6 period time, in the evening time. If you feel hungry, we can grab a simple fibrous fruit like a banana or an apple or a guava or a pear or any kind of fruit for that matter, and we can combine that with a protein-rich homemade peanut butter or almond butter or hummus or any kind of hung yogurt dip also, right? Even a simple snack like a chana, roasted chana, which is rich in protein and fiber, combined with peanuts, which is also protein rich and healthy fats, can be had as a simple snack in the evening time. You can take some sprouted moong also, steam it slightly, add vegetables of your choice, make it like a chaat and eat it. Even a simple item like makhana can be roasted with some nuts and seeds and had as a simple snack to ward off any cravings. Instead of heavily relying on your kachori, samosas, or your deep fried items, you can consume these healthier snacks. Protein and fiber, these two together combined in a complementary way are an ideal snack to be had. Why? Because protein and fiber will buffer your blood glucose. They will prevent hunger to keep coming again and again, and they will provide you more satiety. They provide you more fullness. So you will not feel hungry for the next 2 to 3 hours at least. Now, the next slide and the next couple of slides are going to be focused on your festival food, right? How many of us are consuming festival foods and we are guilty So many of us are guilty of consuming all of these items like mithais, like desserts, like sweets, right? And during Diwali, during our festive season, we tend to overload and we are surrounded. Even if I open social media or any kind of platform, I'm only seeing sweets. People are talking about only desserts. People are talking about only all these items, right? So I'm constantly wired. Mentally, I'm constantly being cued and visually cued, and I'm only imagining food around me. And post festival, because we have overeaten, because we overdo the heavy gravies, we overdo the festival food, we are heavily relying on detox foods. Post festival, what tends to happen to us? We take isabgol because we are constipated. We take a Pantocid or a like a anti-acid because we cannot control the acidity in our body. Then we are having all these detox items. Why are we doing this? Because we have overloaded, we have given the body more than it can digest, right? So that's why it is very, very crucial for us to understand that instead of having the post festival detox, we should keep a check on the festive season foods we are eating. Be a little more mindful, be a little more careful, and maintain caution while consuming foods from outside, right? So let's try and see right now the next slide, which will help us understand how to be healthy in the festive season. The number one tip I can give you is to eat good probiotics and prebiotics. What are these foods? Probiotics are the foods that are going to be healthy for your gut, for your digestion. Remember, in your gut, there is good bacteria and bad bacteria residing. You have to ensure that the good bacteria are helping you fight off any kind of toxins, any kind of harmful virus or bacteria. So the good bacteria will aid in digestion. What is probiotics? Pro means for, biota means the microbiome of your gut. So the word probiotics means live organisms or fermented foods which are great for your gut health. So remember, even if you're going out to eat, if you're celebrating, if you're doing Diwali festivities, don't forget your probiotics because they will ensure you have smooth digestion. You don't have acidity, no gas, no bloating will happen the next day. You will have no migraine the next day. So what you should do is take a little bit of buttermilk, take a little bit of chas with your food, take a little bit of yogurt, right? Homemade pickle also is great. You can take a little bit of idli, dosa, sambar, or a little bit of fermented dhokla also. All these are great options to be had for somebody who wants to increase the digestive health or increase the power of their digestive health. Alongside probiotics, don't forget your fiber-rich, prebiotic-rich foods. What are these foods? The word pre means before, biota means the microbiome of my gut. So if I eat fibrous foods like wheat bran, if I eat bananas, if I eat oranges, if I eat fruits and vegetables, mainly your fiber-rich items are your fruits and vegetables. If you eat those, the ones that are fresh and the fresh foods, the seasonal fruits, the locally sourced items, I will have good prebiotics. And what are prebiotics? They are going to be the fuel for the good bacteria. Just like I need food to live, similarly, the good bacteria inside my gut need food to survive. So you must eat some prebiotic, fiber-rich vegetables and fruits so that the good bacteria, the probiotic bacteria in your gut can live longer and they can thrive better. All right. So both pre and probiotics must be eaten during festival and even otherwise. Even if there is no festival, these two foods are a must in your diet, in your meals, because they will ensure good digestion. And many people say that you are what you eat. You are not only what you eat, but you are also what you absorb, what you take in. If your digestion is not good, you will not absorb nutrients. You will not absorb your zinc, B vitamins, vitamin C. So gut health, your gut health is what? Right from your mouth to your esophagus, to your intestines, your stomach, up till your excretory organs are your entire gut. If your gut health is intact, if the good bacteria is maintained, if the gut health is very, very strong, you will have good digestion. And if you have good digestion, you will have better immunity, better absorption of nutrients, and better mood also. So all these are dependent upon your gut health. That's how important your gut health is. Many of us, what do we do in the festive season? We go on a feast, we have a buffet, we have all our favorite items lined up in one place, and we overload our plate with everything at once, thinking that we'll not get it again. Today is the last day to eat. Let me consume everything possible in one go, right? And that, my friends, is very, very bad, because the next day we're going to have indigestion. Your body cannot take all the food that it has been, digested. The food goes undigested, or indigestion happens, and that again will lead to gas, acidity, stomach issues, mood issues. So don't try and feast and go overboard. Instead, have an approach of moderation. What do? After we feast in Diwali, the next day, what do? We start fasting. We go on a detox diet. कि अभी बहुत खा लिया, I've eaten too much during the festive season, so now I have to detox my body, right? So this all or nothing phenomena, this restrictive mentality doesn't work when it comes to food. Instead of skipping meals and fasting, because if I'm fasting and keeping long gaps between my meals, I'm leaving myself vulnerable to cravings, to more urges of food, right? It's a guilt cycle. I consume excess, then I want to consume nothing because I feel guilty. So instead of having this guilt cycle or this guilt trip, you can break this cycle and eat in moderation. Even if you're eating in Diwali or in some festival like Christmas or whatever festivals are going to come now, if you're consuming foods, consume them in moderation. Take your favorite foods, but you take them in moderation. Don't forget water intake. How many of us don't consume water every day? If you're sitting, we forget about water, we get dehydrated. And many a times our body mistakes dehydration with hunger. So if we feel that we are actually not feeling hungry, but our body is just dehydrated, right? So keep sipping on water, because water is a medium for all the chemical reactions in your body. All your toxins will get naturally flushed out if you have water. So how should you check your water intake? Your water intake can be checked by having less of caffeinated beverages, less of dated drinks, more of buttermilk, more of nimbu pani, more of vegetable juices, coconut water, lemon barley water. All these kind of fluids are a must to be consumed. And how much should each person take? As I said, always check your urine color. If your urine color is dark yellow, it means that you are dehydrated. But if your urine color is pale, transparent in the morning, it means that you are well hydrated. All right. So don't forget this. And even if you're consuming alcohol in the festival season, for every 1 glass or 60 ml, you must space out your drinks and have 2 cups of water, because alcohol again is dehydrating. Again, portion sizing is very, very crucial. Many a times we take a big plate and we fill our plate up with all the festival food, and we consume that entire plate of food in one go. Instead, what we can do is take a smaller plate, a quarter plate, and start with small portions of your favorite food. Today, for instance, if I have an item or a spread of 15 items, okay, I will take only 1 or 2 items that are my favorite, eat them first in a small plate, take 10 minutes, wait it out. As I said, 20 minutes it takes for the body to get a signal that you are full. So take 10 minutes to eat, take 10 minutes to wait, and after 20 minutes, you ask yourself, do I need a second helping? And if your body tells you, I need a second helping, you go ahead and pick up the second portion as well, the second helping as well. All right, but don't fill your plate up to the brim. Many of us, we fill our plate up in one go, and then we have to finish it, because in our Indian culture as well, we don't like to waste. Instead, you can say no politely. You can fill your plate up with less food, and if there is excess food on your plate which is left over, instead of overloading your body, pack that food, keep it for the next day. Those leftovers can be used the next day as well. There is a tomorrow, right? So instead, take your leftovers home, have it the next day, repurpose your leftovers. So many times, if we have something like a rice leftover or a sabzi leftover, it can be made into a simple fry rice or a simple pulao, right, the next day. It's only about putting your mind to it. Even the leftover roti can be made into a frankie the next day. So please try and start and serve yourself small portions first, wait it out for 20 minutes, and then take a second help. All right. And when it comes to sugar as well, very, very important, we understand the good sugar and the bad sugar difference. Many a times, if we eat excessive sweets or even carbohydrate items or even desserts made out of sugar, we don't realize that the sugar that is present in it is extremely processed or refined. Now, what is refined sugar? Most of the food factories or processing units, they refine our sugar, which is extremely processed. Like your artificial sweeteners are also chemically refined and prepared. Your bakery items, your biscuits, your aerated colas have high fructose corn syrup. Any item which you pick, the backside, always check the backside of the nutrition label. What will it read? It will have something like maple syrup or maltodextrin, or it will have high fructose corn syrup, or any of these terms labeled at the backside. All right. So always watch out for these words like refined, white, brown. All these sugars are the sugars that you must avoid because they will increase your weight, lead to more inflammation, and cause a crash in your energy levels, which will make you crave more food. Sugar will give you a rush in your brain. It will give you a kick, and after 1 hour you will have a crash in your energy levels. Your blood sugar will not remain stable, and that's why you must consume natural sugar from fruits because they have fiber. Remember, your natural sugar present in fruits like fructose has fiber to prevent any blood glucose rise or peak. It will maintain your blood glucose because it has fiber in it. Fiber is a speed breaker to your blood glucose. So always have a little bit of jaggery, which is natural, dark colored. Stevia is a plant-based herb. It's a great option to sweeten your foods. Dry fruits like raisins, dates, figs, fruits, all these can be used to sweeten your foods because they are natural sugars. They are much more fiber rich, and they will prevent any kind of weight gain because they are naturally recognized by the body. All right. Now, this is the way that you should be ideally approaching your meals. Always remember, at lunch or dinner, at least the main meals that you are consuming, you should have an approach of this proportion. 50% of your plate should be fiber-rich vegetables, which are rich in antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. 20% of your plate should be a whole grain, not a refined grain like maida. It should be a whole grain, whether it's roti, rice, or whatever millets you want to consume, or oats or quinoa, whatever that is. Only 20% of your plate should be a whole grain, which is fibrous, not your refined grains. Refined, I mean the maida-rich items. And the 25% of your plate should be a protein-rich source like a lentil, legume, pulse, sprouts, chicken, lean meat, or eggs, or soya bean, or tofu, or paneer. All these can be 25 to 30% of your plate, and the remaining 5% can be a fat source like a nuts, seeds, avocados, olives, any kind of oils or ghee you use your cooking in, right, to cook your food in. This is how you should follow your eating pattern. This is a holistic meal plate, an ideal meal plate. So at least, and your main meals like your breakfast, lunch, dinner, your main 3 meals in a day, you should follow 50% of your plate should be fiber-rich vegetables or sabzi or raw salad for that matter. 50%, why? Because that's fiber-rich, and our Indian meals are lacking in fiber, lacking in good antioxidants, lacking in the vegetable consumption. All right. The more vegetables you eat, you'll be able to maintain your weight. You'll be able to ward off any diseases like cholesterol, diabetes, and so on and so forth. All right. So variety in your foods and have a moderate approach. And remember, it is not just your eating habits. Alongside eating habits, you have to maintain a good lifestyle by reducing your stress levels. As I said, some kind of physical activity is a must to boost your mood. It is not a lot to ask for. Adequate sleep or good quality 7 to 8 hours of sleep and maintaining your emotional and mental health all together are the 4 pillars of your health. If you maintain these 4 pillars of your health, you will always be in a healthy state, right? So remember these 4 pillars of health and don't forget these 4 pillars because they are the base, they are the foundation, they're the building, right? Today, just like we have a building that's built on certain ground, similarly this is the ground, the foundation, it's the cement on which the health is built. All right, in which your body is built, your health is built. So for your good physical and mental health, you must follow this pattern. You must take care of your eating habits. your eating, your routine, as well as the kind of foods should be healthy. You should eat healthy, and you should maintain your stress levels by try and doing a simple hobby or some yoga or deep breathing or even meditation for that matter. All right. So follow these 4 pillars of health and you will always have a good, healthy lifestyle.